Shavua Tov L'Kulam, Erev Tov. I want to say a big thank you to everyone for coming out. Erev Rosh Hashana. Erev Rosh Hashana, less than 24 hours to Rosh Hashana. In 24 hours, in less than 24 hours, we're going to be at Rosh Hashanah, which is the day of judgment. We all know the famous Gemara in Masechta Rosh Hashanah. Gemara states that there are 3 books that are taken out on that day. And everybody comes into judgment, and if you're a tzaddik, you're immediately inscribed in the book of life. If you're a Rasha, you're inscribed, Shalom, in the terrible book of death. And if you're in between, like most people are, a Beinoni, who's not completely righteous, is not completely wicked, you get 10 days from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur to fix yourself up. This is a Dover Medua. Everybody knows this thing. This is not something new, no big insights. Today being the last day of Elul, everybody knows that Elul is given as a time for people to start to do tshuva, to start to work on themselves, to look back in the entire year and see where I could have done better, what I should have done better, and start to do tshuva. In fact, they say that this past week, every single day of the week, a person could have been mitakin. A person could have fixed up that day. Monday, every Sunday, he fixed up every Sunday. Today, right? Sunday, all the Sundays of the year, he fixed today. Shabbat, all the Shabbats of the entire year, you could have fixed on Shabbat if you were zochet to it. But I want to start at the beginning of the year. Every Rosh Hashanah, every Yom Kippur, during the Yamim Noraim, we all get a little bit of an inspiration, right? Here in Or Natan, we don't usually have these many chairs throughout the year. When it comes to high holidays, even the people who are not so affiliated are inspired to come and be a part. And every year, people say, including myself, that this year, I'm going to make a difference. This year, I'm going to be a little nicer to my spouse and to my children. And this year, I'm going to be more friendlier to people. I'm going to learn a little bit more Torah. I'm going to say a little more Tehillim. I'm going to pray with a little more Kavanah. And you're supposed to do that for a zechut, for yourself, for a merit. So when you come to the Yom Hadin, you come to the day of judgment, you have something to say to Hashem, look, I'm going to be better this year. I know last year I wasn't so good, but this year I'm going to be a little better. Now it's the end of the year. Right? Today's the last day of the year. Whatever you said last Rosh Hashanah, did it happen? Whatever you said, I'm going to do extra, I'm going to do better, I'm going to change, I'm going to try. Did it actually happen? The Baal Shem Tov says an interesting observation on a pasuk. The pasuk is in Parshat Ekev, and the pasuk says, it's talking about Eretz Yisrael, and it says, Eretz Asher Hashem Elokecha Doresh Ota Tamid Einei Hashem Elokecha Ba Mereshit Hashana Vad Acharit Hashana. Vad Acharit Shana. It says there, Hashem looks at Eretz Yisrael from the beginning of the year to year's end. And the Baal Shem Tov asks, why does it say Mereshit Hashana? From the beginning of the year, and then the pasuk ends Va'ad Acharit Shana. till year's end, not the year. It starts off from the beginning of the year, and then it ends off saying year, without saying the year. Why does the hey, the, go away? The Baal Shem Tov says because that's exactly what happens every year. Every year, Rosh Hashana starts, we're saying, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. I'm going to change. This is the year. I'm going to do better. This is the year. I'm going to do so much more. I'm going to keep Shabbat. I'm going to be more careful with Shabbat. I'm not going to... It comes the end of the year, and it's again Shana. It's again a regular year. Hopefully it's just a regular year. It didn't get any worse. All right? Because you're not going up, you go down. Just want to mention what it means to go into a day of judgment. You know, most people, young people, we've never really gone into a court. So we don't know what it's like to go into a court and to be sitting in front of a judge. Now, I was zocheh recently, about 2 years ago. I was meritful to get a traffic moving violation. I got a traffic moving violation when I was still living here, and I was traveling on 99 right by 63rd. And everyone said in the WhatsApp groups there's an undercover cop there giving out tickets for cell phones, and I knew about it. And I didn't have the cell phone in my hand. Well, that's between me and the judge. But I didn't have it, and I got a ticket for it anyway. No, you postpone it, you move on, you go on with life, but eventually you got to go to court. And as a nice Jewish boy as I am, I didn't have to hire a lawyer. I went myself. There's a lot of stories when I got there. I actually met a lawyer, the lawyer Isaac Abraham, that from Beit Gavriel. Now he lives in the Five Towns. I met him there. He gave me some tips. But I tell you, that whole day, just for a traffic violation, and I was feeling I couldn't eat. The fear inside me for what? For points on my license? For maybe a fine of $280? When you come to Rosh Hashana, it's worse than federal court. Federal court, they can sentence you 20 years in prison, this, that. I just want you to put it in perspective what Yom HaDin is. People don't understand that it's really a day of judgment. And everything that happens the entire year is based on that day of Rosh Hashanah. And so, we try to change. We try to be better. We try to kind of bribe the judge and get him to give us a good verdict. But whatever we promise doesn't happen. For most people. There are exceptions, and we've seen those exceptions in our life, where people who are far away from Torah all of a sudden came back to Torah. But for the most people, they say they're going to do something, and they don't end up doing it. I want to share with you a story from Masechet Avodah Zarah. We, Baruch Hashem, Avi from Bayswater is here with me, Avi Zuno, and we have a little group there every Shabbat. We learn Masechet Avodah Zarah, like we used to do here in the back. And we learned this story recently. And before I say the story, I want to just mention, anytime the Talmud says a story, the story is not a bedtime story. It's not a lullaby. It's not a folk tale. It's not a legend. It's not a myth. It's not something you escape reality to. When the Talmud brings down a story, that story is teaching you a way of life. How a person is supposed to behave. And I want to read you the story. The story, Masechet Avodah Zarah, on Daf Yud Zayin, Amud Aleph. And the story goes as follows. V'hatanya, they taught in a Braita, Amru alav al Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya. They taught about a rabbi. His name was Elazar ben Dordaya. Now in the crowd we have some Talmudical students, and I asked them, did you ever see Elazar ben Dordaya in any Mishnah? The answer was no. You ever saw him in any other Gemara but this story that's brought down? No. So if he's a rabbi, why won't we see him anywhere? Not only that, I want to read you what the Gemara says about him. The Gemara says that this guy, Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya, shelo hiniach zona achat ba'olam shelo ba'aleha. He was with every promiscuous woman in the world. He went to every zona. He once heard that there was a zona that lived far away, over the sea. And this woman took a full bag of golden coins as her payment. So you know what he did? Natal kis dinarin v'halach. He took a full bag of golden coins and started to travel. V'avar aleha shiva neharot. And he went over 7 rivers. He's traveling with a golden bag full of golden coins. That's a lot of weight. And he's traveling over 7 rivers together. B'shat hergel davar hefikha amra. While they were together, some wind started to blow. And this woman said, this promiscuous woman, this Zonah said, Kishem shehaficha zo eno hozer limkoma, kach Elazar ben Dordaya en mekabelin oto b'tshuva. She said to him, just like this wind cannot return to its place. Once the wind goes, it's gone. It keeps moving. It can never return to its original place. So too you, Elazar ben Dordaya, you can never return to Hashem. You can never make tshuva. This is what the Zonah tells this guy, Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya. What happened? Halach v'yashav ben shnei harim u'gvaot. He went and he sat in between mountains and foothills. He went and he sat next to a mountain. Amar, he said to the mountains, Harim u'gvaot, bakshu alai rahamim. He said to the mountains, please help me. Help me make teshuvah. Help me to live and be a proper Jew. Amrulo, they said to him, Achanu mevakshim alecha, nivakesh al atzmenu shne'emar, ki harim yamushu v'gvaot temutena. They said, before we can pray for you, we have to pray for ourselves. We got our own problems. It says in Pasuk that we're going to be destroyed. Sa'amar, he calls out, Shemaim va'aretz, bakshu alai rahamim. Please, heaven and earth, pray for me. Ask for mercy. Amr, they said to him the same thing. Achanu vakshim alecha, nivakesh al atzmenu. Shne'emar ki shemaim ki ashan nimnachu v'ha'aretz kabegit tivleh. They said this, the heaven and earth said, we can't help you. We got our own problem. We're going to be destroyed. So Amar, he calls out again, Hamal v'na bakshu alai rahamim. He says, sun and moon, help me. And they say the same thing. Ashanu mevakshim alecha nivakesh al atzmenu shne'emar b'chofra halvana b'osha hama. Again, we're going to be destroyed. We can't pray for you. We got to pray for ourselves. Amar, he said, Kochavim u'mazalot bakshu alai rahamim. Please, the stars, the constellations in the heaven, pray for me. Amrulo, they said to him, Achanu mevakshim alecha nivakesh al atzmenu shne'emar v'namaku kol tzeva hashamayim. They said, we can't pray for you. We got to pray for ourselves. Amar, he said, Ein hadavar talu elabi. I see that I'm the only one that can make the difference. I'm the only one who can pray for myself. Heniach rosho ben birakav. He put his head in between his knees. And he cried so much until his soul departed from him. And he died. And as he died and as his soul left him, And his soul started to go to Shemayim. Yatzta bat kol ve'amra. A voice from heaven came out and said, Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya, mizuman lehaye ha'olam haba. This Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya, this Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya, is coming into heaven. When Rabbi Yehuda Anasi heard this, Bocha Rabbi v'amar. The great Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, he heard this, and he started to cry. He said, Yesh koneh olamo bekama shanim. Some people, in order to get into the next word, in order to get into Olam Haba, they have to work many, many years. V'yesh koneh olamo b'sha'a achad. But there are some people that get into heaven like that. V'amar Rabbi, and Rabbi said, not only that, Lo dayan livalei tshuva shemekabelin otan. Not only do they take people who make tshuva, they bring and they let them in to the next world. Ela shikorin otan Rabbi. But they also call them Rebbe. The guy was full of hate, full of sin. And they bring him into Shemayim, and they give him smicha, and they tell him, you're a rabbi. Elazar ben Dordaya. Rabotai, the story is an amazing story, but the story is very perplexing. It's very confusing. If Chas Shalom, we know somebody that's steeped in sin, we're not going to tell him to go talk to the mountains and go talk to the heavens. We're going to tell him, go to the Beit Midrash, go to the synagogue, go find the rabbi. He's going to tell you how to make tshuva. Elazar ben Dordaya, he wants to make tshuva, he starts talking to the mountains. Not only that, the mountains start to talk back to him. I don't know, when I talk to mountains, they don't talk back to me. You know, Elazar ben Dordaya, he's talking, mountains talking to him. What's going on in this story? He's full of hate. He went in, he did it, and he's Rebbe. He's full of sin, and he's considered a Rebbe. Rav Tzadok says an amazing concept. Rav Tzadok says a story about Rav Zisha. Rav Zisha was once walking in the streets in Europe. This was a holy Jew, a holy rabbi. He was walking in the streets in Europe, and a goy saw him, and a goy said to the rabbi, hey, Jew, pick up the hay on the floor and put it on my wagon. Rav Zisha takes a look at the hay, and he sees it's a lot of hay. It's a lot of straw on the floor. So he says, I'm sorry, I can't do it. The guy says to him, don't tell me you can't do it. You don't want to do it? It's fine. Just say you don't want to do it. Don't say I can't do it. And the guy went further. Rav Zisha stopped. Rav Zisha said, wow, did you hear what this man just told me? Because everything you hear and happens to you in life comes from God. And if God is giving you a message, you should try to hear it. And he says, you know, he just told me? He told me a person should never say, I can't. If I don't do something, it's not because I can't do it. It's because I really don't want to do it. You see, Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya in this story, he said, it's up to me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make tshuva. Because when it's up to you and you really want to do something, when there's a will, there's a way. The Pirkei Avot says this. The Pirkei Avot says, Im en ani li, mi li. If I am not for myself, who is for me? The Rambam and the Rebbeinu Yonah say, what does this mean? That if a person himself doesn't want to do mitzvot, and a person doesn't want to learn Torah, doesn't want to do good deeds, no matter how much someone else pushes him, it's never going to happen. You have to want to do it yourself. And they say that this is very important marriage advice. Because when people get married, when they're dating, sometimes they see a flaw in the other partner. And a lot of times by the woman, more so by the men, the girl says, it's okay, the problem. I'll fix it. I'll change it. Rabotai, no one can change another person. You're lucky if you can change yourself. You have to want to change yourself in order for change to happen. The Lev Eliyahu brings down a mashal. There was once a man, he was born in isolation. He never came outside. As a baby, he was not allowed outside. And he learned about the world from his parents. And when he was a 30-year-old man, he finally stepped outside for the first time in his life. He steps outside. Thank you. And he sees a bird. And he's always heard about birds, they fly. And so he jumps and he catches a bird. He's holding the bird in his hand, and the bird is not flying. So he turns to the people that are in the area, and he says to the people, he says, why is this bird not flying? What's wrong with this bird? What's the answer? The people told him, of course the bird is not flying. You're holding it. How do you expect the bird to fly if you're holding the bird? Our nishamot always want to fly to Hashem. They want to reach and do mitzvot. But we ourselves are holding ourselves back. So now our question of why change doesn't happen gets a little bigger. Because every year we say we're going to change and we're going to be better. Some people say they're going to change every day, right? They do something wrong, okay, tomorrow I'll be better. And he goes and try, and nothing happens. But we want to change. But we just learned that if we don't change, it's because we really didn't want to change. Because if we really wanted to change will happen. Rav Yaakov Lulinsky brings down a beautiful mashal. He says, one time, one of the students of Shlomo HaMelech, he learned how to speak to animals, how to listen to animal conversations. Shlomo HaMelech was able to understand everything in the world. And so this student learned from Shlomo HaMelech how to speak and talk to animals. And the student was now going to leave Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, and he was going to go back home. And King Solomon told this student of his, you can never ever let anyone know that you can speak and hear animals what they say. If you ever tell somebody you know this, that's the day you're going to die. So he went home. He got married. He had children. He bought a barn. He had animals. And one day, as he's going to work his ox and his donkey, the donkey looks very sick. So he leaves the donkey in the barn and he takes the ox out. And he works the ox double because the donkey's not working. The ox comes back to the barn, he's all tired. The donkey sees the ox and the donkey says to the ox, you know what you should do? You should pretend to be like me, pretend to be sick. If you pretend to be sick, the owner won't take you to travel to work with you. The ox says, good idea. The man hears this and he starts to laugh. what a clever animal. His wife is standing nearby. All right, like all wives, if you're going to laugh next to your wife, she's going to say, why are you laughing? All right, what's so funny? What did you hear? So he says, no, whatever, I was thinking about something. No, the next day he goes back. And this time the ox is pretending to be sick. And the donkey went out to work extra. The donkey comes back. And the donkey now says to himself, I can't let the ox pretend to be sick every day. So he walks back into the barn after working so hard, and he tells the ox, by the way, I heard the owner say that if the donkey doesn't feel well, what are we going to do? Donkey's a donkey. But if the ox doesn't feel well again, we're going to have to shecht him early so we can still eat him. The owner heard this, he started laughing. Wow, so funny, these ox animals talking. His wife comes jumping. What are you laughing? Why are you laughing? He says, no, what? She says, no, every time you walk into the barn, you start to laugh. I want to know what you're laughing. I'm your wife. Don't you love me? Why didn't you tell me that what you're laughing about? He said, I can't, this, that. She says, I don't care. I'm going to go into the house, and if you ever want to talk to me again, you're going to tell me why you're laughing. He says, but I can't. No, that means you don't love me. Leave me alone. So he says, you know what? I'll show you how I love you. I'll tell you, but I need some time. He sits down, he takes out his notebook, and he writes his last will and testament. Everything, who he's going to go to, what's going to be. And he has his will and testament, and he starts to walk back to the house. He starts to walk back to the house, and the dog is walking next to him. The dog is so sad, man's best friend, right? Dogs. And the dog is so sad. And all the animals on the field know that the master's about to kill himself. But the rooster is walking in the field as he always is. Strong, straight, without a care in the world. And so the dog starts to bark at the rooster and tells the rooster, why are you walking around so chutzpah? Your master's about to die and you don't care. And the rooster says to the dog, it's not my problem if my master is a fool and doesn't know how to take care of his wife. The rooster says, I have 20 wives and I keep them all in line. This man has to know how to keep his wife in line. The master hears this. He says, kakras, that's right. That's right. He walks into the house. He goes to his wife and he says, I'm the man in this house. I will laugh when I want to laugh. I will laugh where I want to laugh. And no one's going to tell me otherwise. Right away she says, oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean it. That's not what I meant. Da-da-da. And he lived. Now, a lot of people are looking at the story and saying, okay, that means I shouldn't listen to my wife. Well, if your wife is a tippish, then you shouldn't listen to her. But Baruch Hashem, we all married an Eshet Chayil. So, an Eshet Chayil you have to listen to. But if you're married a tippish, that's a different story. The point of the story is that that's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is telling you, you have to do this. You have to. Otherwise, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to have a good life. And we succumb to that thought. We say, he's right. We walk to our own death. We walk to our own death. Because we think we can't. But once a person realizes that it's all up to him, that if he has the ratzon, if he has the desire, if he has the desire to change, if he has the desire not to listen, he has the ratzon not to listen to his Yetzer Hara, it's that easy. It's that easy. All what it is ratzon. It's desire. If you really, really want something, if you really want to make tshuva. I was at work the other day, and I met Rav Yidi from the shul across the street, the Beit Yaakov shul. And I met him at work. We know each other. Anybody knows him knows that he's a big chassid of Rav Avram Shor Shlita. And he told me, we were talking, so listen, you have to listen to Rav Avram Shor on Rosh Hashana. He has so many shiurim. Listen. So I went home and I listened. And Rav Avram Shor was talking about this topic. He said, people want to make tshuva, they can do it. And it really will work. So why don't people do it? If a person has a desire, and we all have the desire, because every Rosh Hashanah we say we're going to change. So why doesn't it really happen? Why people don't actually make tshuva? Why is the same Moshe year after year? So Rav Avram Shor Shlita says, listen to this. He says, you want to know why people don't make tshuva? You want to know why people don't change? Why people don't come closer to Hashem even though the neshama wants? They want. As it says in Gemara Berachot Daf Yud Zayin, that everyone's true desire is to serve Hashem. Rav Avram Shor says, you know why no one changes? Why a lot of people don't change? Because of the fear of the unknown. Who am I gonna be when I change? What are my friends gonna think about me when I change? What is my dad, my mom, my spouse? What are they gonna think about if I change? I'm a fanatic. I've lost my mind. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of successful Orthodox Jews in the world who keep Shabbat, a Torah, and mitzvot. But you're scared the family might think, what happened to this guy? That fear of what others think and what you're scared who you're going to be, you don't know who you're going to be, is what keeps people back. You see, Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya taught us this point. Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya said, mountains help me, you help me, you help me, you help me. I can't help you. He says it's up to me. If I'm going to change, it has to be me who changes. I'm the only one who can make that change. And it's only up to me. I don't have to care what everyone else in the world says. Because when it's your day to come in front of Hashem, nobody else is going to come. People always say, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you with this, I'm going to help you with that. Anyone who has experience with people knows that when push comes to shove and the time comes for the help, all of a sudden, most people are not there. They tell you, I'm going to help you with this, I'm going to help you with that. It's all up to you. You make the difference. The Gemara says that when Rebbe heard this story about Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya, he cried. He said, wow, look at this man. All his life he was steeped in sin, and now he's considered a Rebbe, and he goes to Olam Haba. Someone could be koneh Olam Haba b'sha'ahat in 1 minute. What does this mean, in 1 minute? So maybe I should live all my life in sin, enjoy my life, live, be merry, be happy, for tomorrow you die, right? And then the last minute I'll make tshuva. And I'll get into Olam Haba, Masha'ahat. First of all, it doesn't work that way. The reason is, I want you to think about this for a second. If the Yetzer Hara worked on someone for 80 years, to get and to do every Avirah in the book, you think on the last day the Yetzer Hara is going to take vacation and say, oh, let my investment go? The Yetzer Hara is going to stay there on the last day of his deathbed and still make him sin. Not going to let his investment go away. So what does this mean, Sha'achat? In 1 minute, a person can be Kohen Olam Haba. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz explains. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz says, Sha'achat doesn't mean you have to die the next minute. You get into Olam Haba. Sha'achat means 1 minute. That means in everybody's life, there is a moment in your life that you can make it a defining moment and change yourself. You hear a good speech, not this one, another one. Right? You hear someone inspire you. On Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, during the tefillah, during the shofar blowing, all of a sudden you feel connected to God. That's your sha'ahat. That's your moment. The question is, are you part of those people? Yesh kono olamo b'sha'ahat. Are you part of some of the people who grabbed that moment? Like the people you've seen in your lives who be Hoseh b'tshuva, who came back to Torah. Like those people who all of a sudden said, I'm going to change my life, and they really changed their life. It's because they took that moment and they used that moment. They didn't let that moment go away from them. They held on to that moment. And they used it for their lives. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz says, everybody gets a sha'ahat many times through their lives. You hear Siman Tov? Thank you for coming. Everybody gets a sha'ahat. Everybody gets their moment. The question is, can you use that moment to make it a defining moment? This, Rabotai, is the avodah of Rosh Hashana. On Rosh Hashana, we're going to get inspired. Whether you like it or not, everybody comes to shul and hears the shofar. And if you have some connection to Judaism, you have the soul of a Jew in you, you will be inspired. The question now is, what do you do with that inspiration? How do you make that inspiration last? So the Gemara tells us. This is the Gemara Yoma, Masechet Yoma, on Daf Lamed Tet. The Gemara says as follows. I want you to hear this. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. It says in Pasuk, V'hitkadishtam v'yitem kiddushim. You shall sanctify yourselves, and you should become holy. The Gemara says, listen to this. Adam mekadesh atzmo me'at. A person should try to become a little bit holy. Just a little bit. Umakdishin oto harbe milmata. Mekdishin oto harbe. They will make him very holy. Milmata, if he does it in this world, Mekadishin oto milmala, they make him holy in the next world, just a little bit. Va'olam hazeh, makdishin oto le'olam haba. And in olam haba, he'll become holy. That's how you change and have lasting change. What people do sometimes, this is in all aspects of life. We're talking about tshuva, but this is in all aspects of life. A person wants to build a business. So there's two ways to go about building a business. You have a lot of ideas, and you try to do all the ideas at once. Your whole thing is going to go straight down. It's not going to happen. You're too much. It's too much. In order to do it right, you have to start slowly. You start to build. Apple started in a garage. Amazon started in a garage. And then it became a worldwide enterprise. You have to start small. Comes Rosh Hashana, people say, I'm going to change. You want that change to last? You have to find a change that's small. For example, maybe this year, when we talk to our spouses, or we talk to our siblings, we try not to raise our voice too much. Maybe when I say Shema, I'll have kavanah of what I'm saying. Just small. Maybe this year, I'll come to shul on time for Aravit. It's late in the night, a little bit easier. Shacharit can be very hard. Because first of all, you come, the 20-minute korbanot, and then if they don't have a minute, it takes time. So, 7:45 becomes 8:30 start. It's a little bit harder. Find something small. I'll wash nitilat yadayim before I eat bread every time this year. If that's too hard, find something even smaller. Every businessman will tell you, how do you get success? By having success. A little bit of success breeds more success. The key to success is success. So you have to start really small. When you start small, it builds and builds and builds. You see the great rabbis of our time. Chacham Ovadia Yosef, Zechet Tzadik Lebracha. Do you think he became a rabbi overnight? All of a sudden, one morning he woke up. I am rabbi, I am Chacham. Or did he work on that day in and day out? He started slowly. And he built and built one Gemara to the second, to the third, to the this, to the next, and he became who he is. Some people look at the shelves of Jewish books and they say, this is way too much, I'm not going to start. And they don't get anywhere in life. A person starts one page, he flips the next page, he goes to the next page, all of a sudden he becomes a Chacham. You have to start small. Make small goals. The Kabbalot you want to take on this Rosh Hashanah is something small. Because that small goal will make all the difference. Rabotai, I know everybody likes to hear a Zohar, so I don't read the Zohar. But I was reading a Sefer by Moshe Shapiro, and he brings down a Zohar there. And he says, the Zohar says, when Yitzchak Avinu had two sons, Yaakov and Esav. Yitzchak Avinu is about to die, or he thinks he's going to die soon. And he tells Esav, go and get me food. Va'aseh li mat'amim ka'asher ahavti. V'havia li ve'ochela ba'avot tevarechecha nafshi. He says, go and get me food, bring it the way I like it, and I'm going to bless you. Everyone knows what happens. The smart woman, the wife of Yitzchak, Rivka Imenu, says to Yaakov, you can't let Esav take the berachot, you go and get it. Yaakov is a yeshiva guy, he doesn't know how to make any food. So Rivka Imenu says, don't worry, I'll make it for you. Right? That's why yeshiva guys, they always have to have someone making food for them. And he takes it to his father, and his father gives Yaakov a beracha. The Zohar says that Yitzchak in this story is actually Rosh Hashanah. It's Yom Hadin. Yitzchak Avinu is Midat Hadin. And Yitzchak Avinu in this story, it represents Rosh Hashanah. And in Rosh Hashanah, Hashem says, go and bring me mat'amim. Go bring me the taste, the flavor of the world. Show me what taste you have. And then I'll bless you. And if Rivka Imenu says, don't let Esav come. Because who's Esav? Esav is the Rasha. If Yitzchak sees a Rasha come to him on Rosh Hashanah, he's going to give him a curse. Yaakov, you go. Because you're Torah. On Rosh Hashanah, the judgment is not just what you did, but what taste, what flavor is your life. Is your life about Chas Shalom binge watching on Netflix? Is your life about partying at restaurants, shashlik and beer, or vodka, whatever it is? Or your life involved with Torah and mitzvot? What's the tam? What's the taste of your life? Rabotai, Ratzon. If there's a will, there's a way. But the will has to be authentic. It has to be real. And once you have a real will, and you work step by starting small, you'll get very, very far. This Rosh Hashanah has to be different than all Rosh Hashanot in the past. It can't be the same. Because if it's the same, then it's not a new year. It's the same old year. And we don't want the beginning of the year to be Hashana and the end to be Shana. We want the beginning and the end to both be Hashana, the year that makes a real difference. Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, Hashem should give us the power. Because it says here, listen to this, and with this we'll end. Haba litaher misayen oto. When a person tries to do good, they help him. From Shemayim, in heaven, they help him. That's how it happens. One small thing, why all of a sudden you can do something after again? Because Hashem sees you really want to do it. And you did already one. Hashem leads you on to the next, and to the next, and to the next. Rabotai, the ball is in your court. Do you have the ratzon? Do you have the will? Do you have the will to make the change? But the will is not enough. Do you have the patience to work slowly? Be'ezat Hashem, we should all be zocheh to have a life and to be inscribed in the book of life. And Be'ezat Hashem to be inscribed with a lot of parnasah. And we should have anybody who needs refuah shlema should see it if refuah shlema bekarov. Anyone who needs a shidduch should find a b'sheret Be'ezat Hashem right away. And all the good stuff in the world should come to us. Why? Because we want those good stuff. How do we get those good stuff? By wanting what Hashem wants and walking in Hashem's ways, one step at a time. Shana Tova L'Kulam. We're going to do Hatarat Nidarim right now.